Hi everyone, I'm Jolene. Welcome to my Peeps. So my name is Jolene Breedlove now. It used to be Conger. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and social science, and I minored in mathematics. I'm currently a middle school math teacher, and I am pursuing my graduate degree in educational psychology with a focus in gifted and creative education. I was born in Allendale, Florida in 1984 to my parents, Gary Conger and Samantha Conger Westbrook. I speak English. That is my only language, and I currently live in West Palm Beach with my husband and 2 kids. And I love going to Disney and spending time in the theme parks. It's super relaxing and fun for me. So the first thing you'll notice is that my family tree is a little one-sided. I have quite a bit of information on my paternal side and not so much on my maternal side. And that is because if you notice up here on my dad's birth date, he was born in 1946. My mom up here was born in 1968. So she is quite a bit younger than him. And when she was 14, almost 15, or no, 14, she got pregnant with me. And so that caused a huge rift in the family, and there hasn't been a lot of connection with her side of the family because of that, and some things that happened that I don't even fully understand as an adult. So I will talk about my mom's side and then move into my dad's side. My mom did not finish high school. She had me when she was 15, so you can imagine that was hard on her. She didn't finish high school. However, she's worked in the plant industry since she was pregnant with me and is an absolute expert in her field. I don't know that there's anybody that knows more than her, so that's pretty awesome. She has 4 kids with my dad, and they have been together happily since she got pregnant with me when she was 14. My mom is the best grandma ever. I couldn't ask for a better grandma to my kids. She's amazing with them. Her dad is Jimmy Westbrook, and I know that he was in the military. He served in the Army. He did not go to college, and then after the Army, he worked on boats in Tampa. He has 5 kids, and as far as I know, always lived in Florida and only spoke English. He was married to Sally Sue Nelson, and she was a housewife to the 5 kids that he and she had together, and she always lived in Florida and spoke English. And that is as far as I got. I did send out some emails to some distant cousins, but I haven't heard anything back, so that's all I know for that side of the family. The information that I have for my dad's side of the family, I can thank a distant relative for. He has an extensive family tree built up on Ancestry.com. So here's my dad. His name is Gary Ralph Conger, and he was born in 1946 in Napanee, Ontario. He moved to the States in New York when he was young, I think 3, and he had some college, and then he joined the Army, and he was a sergeant in the Army and fought in the Vietnam War. After the Army, he worked in masonry and construction, brick and block laying, and was very good at his trade. He died on April 24th of 2013 from complications. I'm sorry about that misspelling, from Agent Orange exposure, and he only spoke English. His parents were Ralph Allen Conger and Ruth Sinclair. They were both born in Ontario, Canada, and came to the his dad came to the U.S. in 1948 and served in the Army. After the Army, he was also a bricklayer and mason. Together, they had 3 children, and he spoke English and French. My grandmother, Ruth Sinclair, was also born in Ontario, and she moved to Florida in 1955. She was a housewife. She had 3 children and spoke English and French as well. And something that was so funny about her that I remember, I never got to meet my grandfather, but my grandma, I remember she lived in this trailer in Zephyr Hills, Florida, and it would just kill her when we would run around and be loud. She was always telling us to calm down and be quiet, but she also had candy, and so that kind of made it better. So let's go up here from my great-grandparents on so Ralph Conger's parents. They were Charles Conger and Mabel Wood. They were also born in Ontario. I didn't have too much information about them. They spoke French and English, being born in Ontario. They had 5 kids together. Charles Conger was part of the Canadian Army in World War I. He traveled a lot. He had a lot of papers that he traveled. He went to London and Nova Scotia and all kinds of places during the war, so that was pretty cool. His wife, Mabel Wood, was a housewife during that time. And then we can go back over here to Charles's mother and father. We have William Conger and Eliza Scott. Eliza Scott died very young. She had 4 kids, and she was involved in the Methodist Church. William Conger, her husband, had 4 kids. He married 3 times and was a mason/bricklayer. So going down here to Mabel Wood's parents, they were also born in Ontario. Reuben Wood was farmer, laborer, street cleaner, no education aside from, grade school. Same with Hester Keller. They had 8 kids together, and she was a housewife. So let's look back to Ruth Sinclair, my grandma, and her parents. They were also born in Ontario, Canada, and they moved to Buffalo in 1933. They had 2 kids together, and both spoke English and French. I don't have any information on their occupation or education levels. Edward Sinclair's parents, Andrew and Sinclair and Ida Thompson, again, don't have much information on them. They did have 9 children. I know Ida was a housewife, and that's about all I know from them. And then down here we have Eleanor Linder. Her parents, Louis Linder and Elizabeth Morlock, they lived in Buffalo, and I'm not quite sure about this because it says they were born and just stayed in Buffalo, so I'm not sure how they were in Buffalo, yet she was born in Ontario. I'm not sure how that worked. But Louis Linder was in the military in 1901 through 1904, and together they had 4 kids. Some interesting things I found. I was actually able to trace these generations back further. And I have some Dutch, German, and English roots. The name Conger, which is my maiden name, it used to be Bell Conger and that's an English derivative. And I was able to trace a family on my father's side, the male lineage from my father's side, back to the 1400s in English, and they were all Freemasons, which kind of makes sense, because if we track it here, they were Mason bricklayer. I don't know if I said it, but he was also a Mason and bricklayer, and my dad was a bricklayer, and also my brother, who we don't have on here, but he is a bricklayer, construction worker too. So that's pretty interesting. Thanks for listening, guys.